very good morning. Welcome to Main and 5WH channel. And today's session is about all about database. So we all talk about like today's important topic is about data engineering. We all understand like there are so many forms of data today. So we call it relational database, NoSQL database, a lot of split in the NoSQL in terms of different types. So we're not covering much on relational. I think most of you understand relational database. So basically they're meant for asset transactions. They give you consistency, concurrency, mathematical background. They use SQL, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're not covering that, but we'll quickly switch over and try to understand very important component, which is about what does the new world of database mean for all of us. So if you're an architect or a designer or a developer, there is a way by which you're trying to mix it up today for the customer solutions. So on the screen, you can see that these are different types of databases available today. You call it Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So why do we need NoSQL? So it's a pretty straightforward thing. When we are thinking about distributed computing, you definitely need a way by which you can scale the applications. So it was actually born by an incremental way of scaling up as a solution, right? So when there was a lot of this horizontal applications like Facebook, you could look at Google search, a lot of these applications which needs huge volumes. So automatically they went and innovated over the standard database and looking at how they can quickly give results to the end customers. Because the joins are expensive, hard to scale horizontally, and it's very expensive to have the product cost, hardware, and maintenance. So you had a new way of thinking, which is the NoSQL form. And if you really see what happens in the NoSQLs, it is trying to provide you some of the advantage what is not there in SQL, and trying to map to the trends which is happening today, which is big data, connectivity, P2P, concurrency, cloud grid, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So quickly, what are some of the characteristics of NoSQL? So it is avoiding the overhead of asset transactions, okay, and it avoids the complexity of SQL query. Fast development, large data volume like Google, and schema-less. This is some of the characteristics. You can see a lot of examples there. The MongoDB, CouchDB, Neo4j, all these are examples. So NoSQL is getting more and more into most of your applications which need high scalability, right? LinkedIn, Netflix, Amazon, Google, all of them uses NoSQL extensively. So it's very schema-less. You can add a record which does not fit the schema. You can add nulls to the unused items in a row, blah, blah, blah. So there is no schema you actually create. There is no unused cell, no data type. So you can have most of the consideration are done at the application level. The most important area which I wanted to touch in this small video is about what are the different type of NoSQL database, and we'll just see from Amazon's cloud what are the different type of database they provide as a demo at the end of this session, so that you get a visualizations, and we'll cover each of them in detail in the subsequent video. There are 4 data models: the key value, the document, column family, and graph. If you really see the diagram, graph, the example is Neo4j. If you really see document base, it's MongoDB, RavenDB, CouchDB. You have something for the column family, which is Cassandra and HBase. Something for key value, you have Redis project, Walmart, and RAG. Okay, some of the examples. What is key value data? It's the simplest NoSQL database. So an example is given here where a key is used to identify a value, right? So here the key 1 is pointing to some of the attributes. Key 2 is pointing to some of the attribute. The main idea of key value pairs is to use a hash table, and you access the data by a pair of value by strings called keys. Okay. So this is some of the example. Amazon's DynamoDB is an example of a key value data. The second is a column family data. The column is the lowest, smallest instance of data. It's a tuple that contains a name, value, and a timestamp. So you can see an example where a column family is called authors, and there is a key and a value, and there is a person called Eric Long where you have multiple columns you can search for, right? Example is a Cassandra. For example, if you look at some statistics about a Facebook search using Cassandra, right? So with MySQL, if it is greater than 50 GB of data, the write average will reach average of 300 milliseconds and 350 approximately. But if you rewrite that with the Cassandra, look at how much it is reducing to 0.12 milliseconds and 15 milliseconds. It can actually go down more. Graph data is based on graph theory, scales vertically, no clustering. You can use graph algorithms. Example is Neo4j. And finally, you have something called as a document-based data. Here, each key with complex data is known as data structures. The indexes are done by the B trees and document. It's pretty complex in terms of many different things it can contain, like key value, key array pairs, nested documents, blah, blah, blah. So this is an example of document-based data where you can query multiple things within a document, right? So that's what is shown here. So the last but not the least is the CAP theorem, which is very important about consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. If you really look at consistency and availability is really got by CouchDB, Cassandra, Dynamo. And if you want to look at consistency, basically you get it at one of the quadrants. So you can see that C and A, which is consistent availability, is got by RDBMS. If you want consistency and partition tolerance, you use something like MongoDB. You can't actually achieve all the three of the things at the same time. That's why CAP theorem is important on how you balance the architecture while you design the systems. Okay, let's quickly look at a small example of how Amazon looks at it. If you really see here, this is Amazon's database. They give you multiple options. So if you're a developer, if you're an architect, if you're a consultant who's consulting the end customer, and you have a data layer, you have a data engineering layer. So what you have to do is to really know multiple varieties of database provided by Amazon and pick and choose them based on the solution scenario. For example, here you've been given an option for DynamoDB for NoSQL. And then you have something called Amazon QLDB for certain kind of applications. You have something called DocumentDB, blah, blah, blah. If you really see DynamoDB, it is basically a fast and flexible NoSQL database, and it's great fit for mobile, web, gaming, ad tech, IoT, and it's so easy to create a table. So when you tell create table, it automatically asks you table name. You can give a partition key and just can add rows and columns. It's a schema-less kind of thing. So we'll see a hands-on on this in the later sessions. If you go to DocumentDB, basically it's another type of database which is available from thing for creating documents, and then you can query them, you can search them, you can create an instance, blah, blah, blah. That's a second variety. You have something called Keyspaces, which is basically an Amazon Keyspaces for Cassandra, which we just saw. It's a scalable, highly available Apache Cassandra compatible database service. You can actually get started with this. You can actually create a key space. You can create a table in your key space, populate a table, and query your data. That's so it's as simple as that. Something for time streams. With time streams, you can easily store sensor data for IoT applications, metrics for DevOps use case, telemetry for application monitoring scenarios such as clickstream data analysis. So this is specifically for fast, scalable, and serverless time series database, which is provided by Amazon. So you can quickly start it. So for example, if you tell create database, you can create whether it's a standard database, and then you can just go ahead and start working on the end solution. QLDB is basically a fully managed ledger. So we all know blockchain is one of the very important concept today as a solution. The QLDB is a database with transparent and immutable and cryptographically verified transaction logs, which you can create. You have an option called Neptune, which is basically for a graph. So what you can understand is Amazon has got a coverage for most of it. It's going to be the same case with Azure or a Google Cloud platform, or you switch over to Oracle Cloud. You'll find that there are options for you as a developer or architect to really pick and choose. So Neptune here is basically for a fast, reliable graph database. And last but not the least, we all know like RDS is basically a relational database like your Oracle or SQL, which you can use. So coming back to the management console, so when you have to develop any of the applications with Amazon Cloud, just an example, you find options for yourself in whatever we discussed in the early stage in terms of database relational. You have RDS. In NoSQL, you have multiple choices like DynamoDB, DocumentDB, and then you have some databases which has been configured for a specific specialization stream like blockchain. You have QLDB. For Clickstream, you have Neptune. Okay, so that's a short understanding of data. The last but not the least, I think it's very important. Data engineering is a very important discipline today because with large volume of data coming in, large velocity of data coming in, multiple types of database, you really need to really look at data from multiple angles. From an engineering angle, how do you maintain it? How do you really create a good quality of data? And on the other side, you have a lot of other types of people who will come in more from a analytical perspective, AI perspective, machine learning perspective, how you can consume this data. And then there is a reporting and visualization, which is slightly different from these two, basically how you can really present the data. So this is going to be a very interesting area which will get developed as a stream, and hope to connect with you guys again. So thanks for watching, and we'll look at one more video in which we'll cover each of these components in detail. Thanks for watching.